And welcome into the Sports Edge powered by SportsHandicapper.com. Happy holidays, no matter what you are celebrating. We got a huge week of bowl action to get to and some weather factors with the NFL and some big bets that the champ of the Westgate, Sealy McNeely, has made where the line's already moving. You just banged a bet with Georgia Southern and they took the line off the board at FanDuel. You weren't even betting in America. That's the power of the seal.
Yeah, I don't know why FanDuel took it off the board. I don't even bet there. It's strange. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but we've talked about it on the show before, and this is with obviously a ton of respect to you. The power you have. I mean, obviously you bet primarily offshore, but no matter where you bet, these people are tracking it. I mean, I know that FanDuel and DraftKings and PointsBet and BetRivers and all the American legal apps, have their own algorithms and systems, but they're still following the line. So they have a guy that's behind the scenes, like a Jimmy Vaccaro or, whoever the line makers are at all the different sports books that's watching everything aside from their algorithm. So they might have seen that you made a big bet, somewhere in the world and decided to take the line off the board.
I guess, but they're not bookmakers anymore. There's no bookmakers left anymore. They just get scared and they just take the number down.
I know. Who's our guy at the Westgate?
Jay Cornigy.
Jay Cornigy. Cornigy's a bookmaker.
Yeah, they take a bet. They do.
They take
not
a
many
bet.
Left. Not many guys like him left.
All right. Well, our good friend Jamie, you get all the stuff at ScratchCandy.com. Obviously, still in the silly season of golf. We'll get going with the Sony Open coming up in a few weeks. He's on assignment researching golf in Greenland right now, so we'll be back on the show very soon. But we got the great Sealy McNeely. Let's talk about the bowls. And so far, you've been on target. I know you have a lot of plays coming up. What have you seen so far in this bowl season? Anything that surprised you?
Not really surprises. There's only really one team so far that hasn't showed up for the bowl, and that was last night.
Right.
South Alabama. But most teams have showed up. I mean, competitive games for the most part.
Well, let's talk about where we're at. I'm going to throw up the live lines here. Let's talk about, obviously, we mentioned the Georgia Southern game. Let's talk about where you're at with, the bowls coming up. We're going to start getting, there was a lot of bowls this opening week, but there's going to be a lot more coming up. It's kind of weird, though. One game on Wednesday, one game tonight as we record here on a Thursday, a couple games on Friday. The way that the season has kind of started this year, normally there's a lot. It's kind of a little more front-loaded, but it's going to be more spread out, obviously, because it started a little earlier maybe than usual. But I know you've been talking about Air Force since our bowl preview show. You got it at 5.5, 6, and now it's down to 3.5. You think it might close at 3, right?
I think it's going to close 3. I mean, I took 6.5, 6, and I even took some 5.5. But that's my biggest bowl bet this year by far. I even took 3 in the first half. I think it's going to close 3, personally.
What's that?
I think it's going to close 3 personally.
Dude, is there a lot of sharp action still coming in on Air Force?
I think everybody who's going to bet it already. So I don't know. So maybe it will close 3.5. I also went under 47 in the game.
Yeah, and the total course down under 43. Would you would touch it anything less than 47, right?
No.
I think the Fly Boys are going to win this game outright. I mean,
honestly, I would take 3.5 in the game if I didn't bet it. I would take 3.5.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game, if they lose, will be within a point or two. And they're going to really slow it down with a triple option. And Baylor obviously has some talent, but they're one of those teams kind of, Seal, we've discussed this during bowl year. This isn't a situation like a team like Alabama that just missed out on the playoff, or a team in recent years before the playoff that just missed out on the BCS title game. But this is a Baylor team that kind of, in a way, is in no man's land. It's not like they're not motivated, but they kind of were disappointing towards the end of the year. They're playing at Service Academy. We know the Service Academies, whatever bowl game they play, and this obviously is the Armed Service Bowl, but whatever bowl games they've played in historically for the last 20, 30, actually more than that, 40 years maybe, they always seem to be the more motivated team. It's not like the teams they play aren't motivated, but when you look at this matchup tonight, I just feel like Air Force is going to be the team that's more, into this game. They're going to be the team that makes less mistakes. They're going to be, more disciplined. And I think Baylor, if they go down early, like 14-0 early, not that they're going to give up, but they might just kind of be out of this thing right away.
No, I agree. I mean, if you look at the game, they lost their last 3 games of the year, Baylor. They were in the Sugar Bowl last year.
Right.
This is kind of like who knows if they're even going to come to play. And not to mention the fact it's going to be about a 0-degree wind chill.
Yeah, we've had like. By the way, before we get to the weather, how about my Eastern Michigan Eagles? We talked about that last week. I said I loved them plus the 3.5, 4.5, or 4. They won the game outright. They scored 33 straight points. First bowl win since '87. You're the king of the MAC. I know you agreed with me on the Eastern play.
Yeah,
that big. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I was going to bet them, but there was too much sharp money on the other side.
There was a ton of sharp money on San Jose State.
I just passed the game. I just passed the game, but I wanted to bet Eastern Michigan.
Well, listen, I get why there was money on San Jose State. Listen, their quarterback is better than Eastern's. They obviously have a really good defense. But to me, the Eagles had been in so many close games. They had tons of momentum late in the season. They were trying for their first 9-win season ever. They had a 10-win season in '87. But they never had a 9-win season before. And Chris Creighton is just an excellent coach. I know that he hadn't won a bowl game yet, but to me, I was very surprised there was so much sharp money on San Jose State.
Yeah, I was surprised too.
Sure. And then the other point I was going to make is you mentioned the weather. I know these early bowls, a lot of them are in colder, situations like Boise, obviously, and tonight. There's been some really cold bowl games. I mean, normally bowl games are supposed to be in warmer weather. I know you're going to have some that are in, parts of the country, like up in the, the high west and some parts of the south where there's some colder weather at times. But do you remember a bowl season in the first, 11 games or so right now? We've had that many games in cold weather?
Yeah, the only bowl game from years ago that I remember was ever even maybe cold would have been the Humanitarian Bowl, which is the Potato Bowl now.
Right.
In Boise. That was like the only place where they played actual games in cold weather. Now there's more.
Yeah.
I guess they can't put that many games in Florida, and who knows? I mean, not many games are in California. They used to have the one in where the Giants play, the Frisco Bowl, and they're going. I mean,
and not all of it's because it's in cold weather places. Sometimes we've had some weird weather fronts that have made areas that are normally a little warmer, 50s, 60s, be 30s, 40s. But the bowl game tonight's gonna be chilly, and obviously in Boise it was really cold. And there's been a few bowl games really with some cold weather. Let's talk about where we're at as we look at this next week. As I mentioned, we got a game tonight, game tomorrow. There are a couple games on Friday: Houston, Lafayette, Wake Forest, Missouri. 2 tricky games that I want to see if you like either of those. And then not much over the weekend because you have a full slate of NFL games on Saturday, which of course we'll get to. So just one game on Saturday, nothing on Christmas. One game on Monday. So kind of a light, as I mentioned, the way the schedule sets up this year, it's really it was front loaded for a minute, but now it's really back loaded. We had that big day of 7 bowl games on last Saturday, but we don't really have much going on for the next week or so. I mean, we have games, but nothing crazy. What are we looking at when it comes to the next week or so? I know there's some games you banged out before we even started the bowl season.
I haven't bet any for this week. The rest of the week, I didn't bet any of the other 2 games. I passed on them. I refuse to bet Houston in bowl games. They never show up.
Right.
And I can't. Lafayette had too many losses in the portal and declaring for the draft. I can't touch that game. If I had a gun to my head, I would bet Wake Forest. But I don't like the way they finished the season, so I really don't want to touch them. So I don't like the next 2 games. And on Christmas Day, the San Diego State game, I really don't. I mean, I would have laid San Diego State at a better number. The game opened 3.5.
Yeah, because you talked about that. That was the game I was talking about where we were talking about San Diego State, but you hadn't bet it.
Yeah, it would have been them at a way cheaper number. This the number's going. I wouldn't touch it. I don't like the game. I won't be betting it. So.
And then, as we mentioned, you obviously bet Georgia Southern -3.
Yeah, I mean, I bet Alabama -3, but that's not for a while.
Anything else that that might be far ahead that I know there were some games you were looking at.
As of now, no. I'm more worried about the pros this weekend. I have a pretty big bet on Alabama -3. I don't know if I'm going to stay on it. I think it's going to close to 7. I might dabble with the go for a middle. I don't know, but -3 is going to stand up.
All right. By the way, the line is still off the board at FanDuel. No point spread for the Georgia Southern game ever since you got it about 10 minutes ago.
Absolutely.
2 quick games I want to talk about before we move to the NFL. First game, East Carolina, Coastal Carolina. Obviously, Grayson McCall not around. This line, I know I would have opened at 4 or 5, and obviously up to 7.5.
Great. He's playing, actually. He's in the portal, but will play.
Oh, I thought that he was not going to play.
No, he is playing.
I mean, to me, that line is crazy then, because I was thinking that was obviously priced in with him not playing. I think getting 7 and a hook with Grayson McCall and Coastal Carolina. I know East Carolina's got a good defense. They've obviously played some very metrically high level football over the last couple of months. I think that's too many points, Seal.
I haven't really looked at that game. They've lost some decent pieces to the transfer portal, Coastal Carolina.
Right, but the most important is Grayson McCall.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I don't like the way they finished the year either, and they lost their coach. I don't know. I don't know about that game. I really haven't followed East Carolina that much to even have an opinion right now.
I did. Listen, we always talk about on the show. You're not just going to throw something out there, just throw it out there. And the other game here in Detroit, where we're about to have a major blizzard. I know you guys are having some rain in Pennsylvania right now. Hopefully, it won't be as bad with the conditions that we're going to get here. But the Quick Lane Bowl at Ford Field, which I'm sure is going to have about 8,000 people at it. That game coming up early next week. Bowling Green, out of the Mid-American Conference, not going to travel that far. New Mexico State, they have trouble scoring. I look at this line, Bowling Green minus 3.5. To me, I know that you're betting, you're laying that 3 and a hook. Maybe, consider buying it to 3 or whatever. But to me, I think Bowling Green is going to run away with this thing.
Yeah, I lean to Bowling Green. I haven't bet it yet. I don't know. New Mexico State, they finished the year off pretty strong. I'm very impressed the way they played towards the end of the year. They demolished the decent Liberty team on the road.
Right.
I don't know where that game came out of. That young quarterback they have has been playing a little better towards the end of the year. I know he got hurt in his last game, but they say he's playing. I would definitely bet against them if he didn't play, but supposedly he is playing. So
yeah, and you're right. And you make fair points about the momentum that New Mexico State, the Aggies had at the end of the year. But to me, I look at the matchup, and it's not the greatest, sexiest game to bet. I just feel like Bowling Green has what it takes on both sides of the ball, obviously on special teams too, to in the end win this game by double digits or 17 to 20 points. Even with the way that New Mexico State's played, I just think it's a weird line. I think it should be higher. Do you think we're going to see this game? I mean, I know almost 70% of the money is on the Falcons, Bowling Green right now. Do you think we're going to see it go any higher? Is there a chance that Shark Money brings it down to 3?
I haven't heard anything on that game either way, so I don't know. I haven't heard nothing on that game.
All right,
I'm sure close to the game time I'll hear from some people, but as of now, I haven't heard anybody talk about that game.
Well, if Sealy McNeely bangs this game, that's why you got to be at sportshandicapper.com. You see it going across your screen right now. All right, before we go to NFL, any other games? I know, maybe it's a couple weeks away, and I'll be obviously out there in LA for the title game because I still believe that Michigan's going to take down TCU. I'm sure you do too. I already got my flight booked, but, you don't want to jinx yourself. But I went to the semis last year. It didn't go so well against Georgia. I think it's going to go a lot better against Max Duggan and TCU. But anything you're looking at right now that might be a week or two away that you're considering batting and maybe waiting on some information?
Nope, nothing. Too early.
Just Bama.
Just Bama. I just bet Bama because I think they're going to show up and all their players are actually playing and not opting out for the draft.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's not the way they normally would handle things with Nick Saban. And that's why I think that there is value. I like K-State. But you said you bet it. You got a 3, right? It's up to 6.
I laid 3. So
yeah, I think Bama can win this game by 15. But unless K-State really comes out firing, Bama should be able even to cover the 6. I'm not saying to bet it at 6, but I think that's definitely the points you made are very warranted. By the way, really quick, Michigan 7.5. I'm not touching the game. I obviously just want them to win. I know that you've got almost 70% of the money on the Wolverines. I know the Sharps are on the Wolverines. Any value on that game whatsoever? Is it going to get to 8 or 9?
The Big Ten, could care less about the Big Ten.
Yeah, why do you hate the Big Ten so much?
You like the Big Ten? Care less about.
I like Michigan. I don't care about the rest of the Big
Ten.
The
only thing I care about the Big Ten is I like the new coach, the interim coach for Purdue.
Why do you like him?
Drew Brees. I like him.
I mean, Drew Brees was a great quarterback. He's never really coached before.
I know. I just think it's funny.
By the way, he's an assistant. He's not the head coach.
No, to me, he's the head coach.
You're my head coach. All right, let's move to the NFL. Very interesting week. A lot of weather issues. Buffalo could get 3 feet of snow, but it's not about the snow. They just had 5 feet of snow. It's about the wind. It could be up to 72 miles an hour. They're saying the wind could be in Buffalo. Let's start with that game. And this is something that we've discussed.
They're not playing in Buffalo.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's getting out of there, though. They might not be able to get out of there in time.
Oh, well, I'm sure they're going to leave a day early, I would hope.
Yeah, well, they were supposed to leave a couple days early when they came to Detroit. They barely got out of Buffalo to play the game here.
Yeah, but, I would think that the players are dying to get to Chicago because
Why would they
great
get out of
cities in
Buffalo?
America, and I'm sure they can't wait to get to Chicago.
They want to go to Gibson's and have a nice steak.
Yeah, that, and you get to see the best mayor in the country, Lori Lightfoot, Beetlejuice.
All right, here we go. We discussed no politics on the show. Thank you.
So, I mean, I'm sure they would leave 2 days early if it's a chance to get to the Windy City.
Well, I was going to bring this up, and I think it's important. We obviously discussed different angles and situational betting, and I think it's very important that people understand. Obviously the weather in Buffalo a couple weeks ago, and then the game that got posted or moved to Detroit. You've got weather issues that'll happen in Chicago this weekend. Obviously by Sunday it could be different, but these games are on Saturday now because of Christmas Day, and that sometimes, a lot of times, lines will move, like totals will move for unders. And weather is not going to happen. What would you tell people for sometimes, like let's say the Bears, line, for example, 39 and a half right now is the total. It could be really bad wind wise, and wind, obviously, I think you agree with me, is worse than snow.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they'll it'll be kind of intrinsically, put into a number where it's supposed to be really bad weather and people are expecting it to be really low scoring, but it never happens. What do you tell people as far as looking at that kind of stuff?
Well, you just got to keep an eye on it and make sure it doesn't change. Sometimes, like you're right, the weather changes. I mean, it's going to be pretty nasty in Chicago. It's going to be cold and windy. But the problem with that game is the Bears don't throw the ball anyway.
No, it's all about running with Justin
Fields. All about the quarterback running, and Buffalo, their quarterback can certainly run too. And I could see some points in that game because of that. I mean, it's not like the Bears are a throwing team. Let's face it. It's the quarterback that makes the plays with his legs. They're like a college team.
Right. And let's face it, too, when it comes to weather, like I mentioned, a lot of the times it's built in and the weather might not happen. You were on top of it again last week with Miami and Buffalo. You had the first half over 20, easy. You had the game over, 42 something? I know it closed to 43.
41.
Easy. And that's a perfect example of where now, even if there was crazy bad weather, which there wasn't, and they obviously plowed the field and everything was fine. And I remember I was watching the game, playing poker with some friends. And I'm like, this game's going to go over super easy. I mean, the weather was fine. It's important that people understand that you're going to be on top of things like that. And I think that's talk about strategies to bet. That game looked like it was going to be crazy because of snow. You hit a perfect number when it came to the first half and the game. That's where you can really get an edge, right?
Oh yeah, and I am part weatherman. I mean, like I don't want to.
Yeah, you're AMS. Aren't you AMS certified? You and your wife?
Yeah, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I am a halfway certified meteorologist. So, back in the day when I was younger, you could do the weather on the news. Like there was an icon back there named Jim O'Brien. He died jumping out of an airplane and his parachute never opened. But he was a weatherman for ABC back in our area for 20 years. And he wasn't even a meteorologist. He just did the weather.
Yeah, these days they won't let you do that.
No, they won't let you do that. But back in the day, that's what it was. They would just get a guy to read the weather and point at a map, and he had no idea. And I think he was one of them. But that's not like that anymore. But
was he like, I think today it's going to be somewhat warm, maybe a couple clouds, and then tomorrow maybe we'll see some rain? Like, was he good?
He was good, but I don't think he was a meteorologist.
Yeah, these days you have to be pretty much AMS certified, or at least gone to school.
And he wasn't a very successful skydiver either.
Yeah, well, I feel bad about that. Definitely, that's definitely one way to go. All right, well, let's talk about where you're at with some of these games. Interesting slate, as we mentioned. Could be some weather. I know they're calling it a weather chaos weekend with some games in the red and the orange areas. But what are you looking at with Week 16?
Tonight, under 40 in the Jets. If it's not too bad, I could always go over 30. I think I'll be able to go over 36 tonight.
Yeah, 36 and a half right now.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'll go over 36 and under 40 all day long. Free chance for money, pretty much.
What do you think about the Jets moving to -2.5? I mean, this game is basically
I'm surprised it got so much money. Like I said last week, I would have bet them if Mike White was quarterbacking. I can't put my own money behind Wilson.
Right. You lost to my Lions. How about my Lions?
Yeah, I mean, I just can't do it. But I could see the Jets. They did get a lot of money. I could see the Jets. I'll not put my money behind him.
Well, this is like basically a make or break playoff game for the Jets. Like if they don't win this game, it's over. Yeah. And I actually got the Jets. I took him. It's a small play for me. I took him at a pick, and obviously he went up to 1, then 1.5, now 2, now 2.5. And you still got 71% of the money on the Jaguars, but a lot of that was when it was like -1. So which really doesn't make that big of a difference. But I love that I was with you on the under 40. I know there's 66% of the money on the under. And like you said, do you think you might go over the 36? Where are you at on that right now?
I'll play it by ear and see how bad it is tonight there.
What are we looking at as it stands right now?
It could be heavy rain, which I really don't care that much about rain, but heavy rain I do care a little bit, and it could be a little blustery. So
yeah, I think heavy rain could really affect Zach Wilson. I mean, not that it wouldn't affect Lawrence too, but Lawrence clearly the better quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think Zach Wilson can throw in a dome.
No. I don't think Zach Wilson can throw in a practice field. No, he was okay last week until.
He was lucky. A couple of passes, he was very, very lucky. I don't. Yeah. To me, he's too slow in his mental processing of what's going on.
Well, it's kind of crazy, Seal, because they're done with him. Like he's their starter now to try to get into the playoffs because White's hurt, but he's going to be moved on from after the season. I mean, very, 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 very.
I don't know. They might take a shot for another year. He's only second year. I mean,
right, but I think Mike White they've already seen it can be the guy for now. Maybe they draft somebody.
They saw him last year too, and he threw for 450 in one game, and then he couldn't win a game. So who knows?
Right. And by the way, these two teams played last year. Jets won. It was a close one, right? This game in Jacksonville.
Yes.
How about the Lions? My Lions that have won 6 of 7. They probably have to win out to get to the playoffs, but. What a job. I got Dan Campbell at 200-1 to win the coach of the year. I gave it out in a video. The line immediately went down to 30-1. Now it went to 12-1. Now it's like plus 200. So hopefully I can cash that or at least cash it out. But this game, I was nervous about the Vikings. I didn't take the Lions against the Vikings. I thought that was kind of a come to Jesus type game. Lions normally lose those. They destroyed Minnesota. I know you had Lions and teasers and loved them that week. Last week I stayed away as well. Those are the kind of games the Lions definitely lost. Goff on the road. Good defense. Lions did almost lose the game with that 4th-and-1 call to Brock Wright, the tight end, wide open. Unbelievable. But this week, the Panthers looked silly last week against what I think is not that good of a Pittsburgh team. But somehow, some way, because the NFC South is so bad, they're still alive for the division. It's another road game. The weather shouldn't have that big of a factor, but it's going to be probably chillier than normal in Carolina. The Lions have stayed under that key number the entire week, -2.5. I know it opened Lions, I believe. It opened 2.5 and it stayed there. Almost 90% of the money on Detroit. To me, if the Lions win this game, they can run the table. But I'm super nervous about it because Carolina, with the way at times that Sam Darnold, who was almost forgotten earlier in the year, the way he's at times since he's become the starter again, has played. I'm nervous about this game. Is there value on Carolina or stay away?
I would lean to the Lions, but I'm not betting them.
Well, they're the hottest team in the NFL.
Yeah, they are, and they're playing well and they're healthy. I got a bad feeling about the game, but it'll be the Lions.
As a Lions fan, so do I.
Yeah, I really don't.
If they lose this game, it's over. We're not going to.
I know. I really don't like Carolina as a team, but every once in a while they play well. I mean, obviously they didn't play well last week against the Steelers.
A terrible. I watched most of that game, and I liked Carolina. That was a terrible performance by the Panthers.
Yeah,
awful.
That was awful.
All right. Well, what else are we looking at? I know that there was a few games that you really liked.
I did bet under 35 in the Bears. Not the Bears. I'm sorry, in the Cleveland game.
Yep, and that's down to 32 because every time you bet, the line moves 3 points. Would you touch it at 34, 33.5?
34, I might have. I mean, let's face it, the total's so low.
Yeah, it's a and the Saints can. I understand the weather's going to suck, but Cleveland with this, when you look at what Deshaun Watson can do, and he's obviously this is his third game back. The Saints looked great last week. I love the Saints. I mean, maybe just made it look easy with Taysom Hill and just all the different plays they can run. I think this game could. I know the weather's going to suck, but even just running the ball, I think that this game could go over 32, 33.
Yeah, I mean, it could. I mean, this is probably the worst weather of any game all year.
Right.
To me. I mean, it's going to be very, very cold and extremely windy.
I just think that you look at these two teams, and like I mentioned, the Saints last week, what they were able to do.
Yeah, but they have no receivers. I mean, even a rookie from Ohio State, he's out.
Yeah, Olave's hurt.
Yeah,
but, he's out. They scored 21 pretty quick against Atlanta. I know they slowed down. But that to me is kind of what I think this game is going to be. 21-17, 21-19, 22-15 type of situation. That easily would go over. But would you wait till closer to game time to for sure feel good about the weather, or would you bang it right now and go over 32?
I'm probably going in with my other 35, to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
I don't think they're going to be able to throw. I think the weather's going to be ridiculous on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you. All right, what else are we looking at?
Couple teams I like in teasers this week. I stuck it in. One of them is I like the Vegas against.
Yeah, you've been on Vegas. I had Vegas last week. You liked Vegas last week. By the way, have you ever seen a game like that ever? That was the most ridiculous thing ever.
That was insane. Insane. I like Vegas this week in teasers against the Steelers, and I took 10.5 with the Patriots in teasers against the Bengals.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. Did you get the Raiders at 10?
No, I actually took 8.5 with 6-point teasers. I did not.
Yeah, but that's fine. I think that game's going to be within a touchdown.
I would think so.
And then you mentioned you took the Patriots, +4 against the Bengals? I'm sorry, +10.5?
Yeah, +10.5.
Yeah, I think with the Bengals are playing great football. You saw what they did to the Bucs last week. Yeah. But the Patriots have a great defense, and they're at home.
Wait, hold on. What? All right, hold on. Hold on a second. Who is?
All right, well, Steely McNeely in the middle of some business there. But as I was saying,
my dog is
you look at this, situation with the Patriots and the Bengals. And, I was big on Cincy last week. I know Seal was too. The Patriots looked awful, when it came down to a game that they probably really had to win to get to the playoffs. That last play was so unpatriot-like when they lost to Vegas, but they scored 24 points, so Mac Jones looked better. The defense they have, I think when you look at them getting 10 or more home, it definitely makes sense to me. Since you could win this game by a lot, but most likely the Bengals win this game by 3 to 7 points, stays around the key numbers, and the Patriots defense and Mac Jones can keep it close enough. And this is, Bill Belichick's team coming off an embarrassing loss. And the way they lost it was the worst. The Patriots, I think it's Scott Zolak, the Patriots color analyst, said that it's the dumbest team he's ever seen. That's their own analyst, former player, the dumbest team he has ever seen. And that's, a Bill Belichick team. It's just crazy to think that is, the way the Patriots have been looked at this year. So, even though you're coming off that awful gaffe and loss to the Raiders, you're coming back home. Weather's not going to be great. Bengals obviously have a great offense, but this game should be within that margin. So I like where Seal's at with that. I got a couple more games I want to ask him about before we get out of here. I know he's got an emergency situation. We'll be back in just a second. But as he mentioned, you look at that Saints and Browns game and the total down to 32, and he went under, obviously, 35. Weather should be awful, but maybe if that game goes down to 30, you can try to middle it. If you got it at 35, if you're one of Seal's clients or you were on it, go over 30, go under 35. I just look at that game and I feel like there could be enough points to be right in the middle of that. I think 32 is a good number, and obviously going under 35 is a fantastic play by Seal as he normally is able to get these numbers. Let me see, by the way, if the number is back on FanDuel, because Seal, just before we started the show, had just bet Georgia Southern, and FanDuel it's still off. They just have a money line. They have no point spread. It's the power of Sealy McNeely. And I think he's on his way back. All right, is the emergency averted?
No, I'm trying to clean up shit all over the place. Nobody wants to go out. My dogs when it rains.
Oh, the silly dogs. All right, before we get out of a couple more games I wanted to ask you about, I want to start with this Commanders-Niners game. Of course, the Commanders, I was all about the Giants. I had them plus the points, plus on the money line. I know it's not a game that we necessarily got a chance to really focus on last night on Sunday Night Football. But now you look at the Commanders kind of in, must-win type mode with that tie they have. Going into San Francisco, Brock Purdy has been the opposite of what I thought he would be. Thought he would totally struggle for a few games, maybe get things together. But the Niners are obviously a very good team. They've got Christian McCaffrey. They've just got, they're so well coached by Shanahan. But you're getting a full touchdown, and it could get to 7.5 for the Commanders. To me, that seems like the play. I'm not saying it's a big bet. Well, I mean, 80% of the 90% of the money almost on the Niners. What about Washington with Heineke, who's playing very, very well? They've got a solid defense. They can run the ball. I think the Commanders are a solid play, getting a touchdown or more.
Yeah, well, definitely Commanders are nothing for me. I would definitely look at them. Definitely.
And then one more game, when you look at this Philadelphia team in your city of brotherly love, you've got the Eagles, obviously, with probably no Jalen Hurts. We'll see. Cowboys, obviously, trying to, stay on the top seeding in the NFC right now. As far as the wild cards go, they're not going to win the division. Cowboys with an interesting number, -4.5, blows through the key number. You've got almost 70% of the money on the Eagles at +4.5. This is a tricky game. I wondered if you had any thoughts on this.
I messed around with this game. I still like the Eagles without Hurts. He's not playing. I did take some 5.5 when I thought there was a chance he was going to play, but obviously he's not playing. They downgraded him today to out.
You got to love Gardner Minshew, the mustache man.
Yeah, I like the stash.
He started before. It's not like he's coming into Brock Purdy.
I am going to probably make a bet on the Eagles.
Yeah, to me, that's it's kind of like what we talked about last week, Seal, and we were obviously both right about this. The Commanders or the Giants, that line seemed weird.
Yep.
They were getting 4.5, even though they were only favored by, they were -4.5, even though they were only -2.5 a couple weeks before when they were on the road. This is the same thing to me. I mean, Dallas obviously playing some great football. They just got their ass, just completely befuddled in the end against that Jaguars team in overtime, a game that Dallas probably should have won. But they gave up one of the 3 walk-offs, first time I think since the 70s that there's 3 walk-offs in the final play of the game in the NFL in 1 week. And this line, the same thing to me. I know there's no Hurts, but 4.5, it just seems like it's going to be a real close game, divisional battle.
Yeah, when it's all said and done, I will have a bet on the Eagles. Nothing big, but I'll have something on the Eagles.
All right. Anything else before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, I one of my most hated teams in the NFL. I can't stand them, but I just bet it because I know there was value. I laid some 5 on Tampa Bay, and I don't know if I'm going to take back 8.5. I have to decide.
Yeah, it's already up to 7.5. When did you make that play on 5.5?
I can take 8.5.
Yeah. When did you make the play on 5.5?
I laid 5, but I mean, I just knew it would go over 7.
Was that a couple days ago when you laid the 5,
yeah,
or was that early?
I must have bet that on Monday.
Yeah, because I obviously it's steadily been moving. The Cardinals are awful, and Colt
McCoy's
McCoy's
they're on the third-string quarterback. I mean, Colt McCoy, I knew they weren't going to play him in this game. The game's meaningless.
Right, he's terrible anyway.
Yeah, he's better than McSorley from Penn State. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and the Bucs, they look great. They're up 17-0 against Cincinnati, and it went all the way. This is the kind of game where a team like the Tampa Bay with Tom Brady, and the way that I feel like they've been able to kind of recover at times. This is a spot where they could come out there and win this game by 20. I mean, the Cardinals they're putting up no fight right now, Arizona.
Yeah, the Cardinals, their coach is going to be done after this year.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's done. Listen, the idea of Cliff Kingsbury with Murray made sense, but now there's questions about what Murray is able to do. If they ruined him, Kingsbury obviously has been kind of going backwards. I'm with you. I think he's probably going to be gone.
And he just gave an extension before the year started, which is
but
that doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything.
No, extensions don't matter anymore these days.
Yeah, they don't matter.
One other game that I want to throw before we get out of Packers Dolphins. Fins up to 4, 70% of the money on Miami right now. Green Bay got that win. They obviously had to get to stay alive for the playoff race. Tua is playing great, but this is the kind of game where Aaron Rodgers, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but the Packers clearly have not been nearly as good of a team as the Dolphins this year. It's in Miami. Miami doesn't have the greatest home field advantage. The weather's not a factor. Is there a play on Green Bay because it's through a key number?
I would, if I had to bet a side, I would lean to Miami. I like over. I bet over 48.
Yep, then up to 40 or 50 right now. As the lines always move. And by the way, Seal, I know you were cleaning up probably some dog vomit, but the line's still off the board at FanDuel. No point spread at FanDuel. You've done it again. You've done it again, my friend. Every time. Even you were surprised. You're like, I don't understand.
I don't bet there.
Yeah, but they're piped into everything. They see they see you bang the 5 dimes. They're like, oh, we better take the line off the board. It's like what I made in my Dan Campbell video. Within 5 hours, 200-1 Dan Campbell Coach of the Year went down to 30-1. DraftKings took it off the board for 2 weeks. Now it's down to plus 200. I still think Sirianni's going to win it, But if the Lions run the table, and they voted that award before the playoffs start, if the Lions run the table and go to the playoffs, Dan Campbell is going to win Coach of the Year. I think.
Oh, he could. That definitely. He's doing a hell of a job. They're playing great ball.
So. Yeah, I mean,
It's
listen.
a shame they started 1-6. That was all mainly due to injuries. They
were in a lot of those games. They could have won a few of those games. And Campbell's. I mean, I said that I wanted the Lions to win 7-8 games year 2, playoffs, division. On the table for year 3. They're obviously ahead of schedule. Goff's playing great. You mentioned obviously they're pretty darn healthy. Jameson Williams came back after being hurt. He would have been drafted much lower. The offensive line's one of the best in the league. The offense is top 5, top 3. It's been a lot of fun to watch. You know how bad the Lions have been for so long.
Oh yeah, I like the kid they got in the 5th round of the draft last year who played for
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
No, the guy they got last year. Year,
he was 3rd round.
Houston, the linebacker, the defensive linebacker.
Houston has been phenomenal.
He played for primetime last year at Jackson State, and he looks like they got a steal.
Yeah, well, I think they got a steal with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think you look at what Brad Holmes. I'll tell you this: we know that Brad Holmes is the right guy. We'll see if Dan Campbell is. It sure looks like he's making a case to be that way. But when you Hutch, I know Pascal hasn't really done much this year, but I think he's got a chance. James Mitchell has been a factor with some lack of tight ends. Trey Hawkinson. You mentioned James Houston, a 6th round pick. Malcolm Rodrigo, he was a 6th round pick. It's been pretty amazing to see what they've done in this short period of time under Brad Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, well, they got lucky because the Jags took, instead of taking Hutchinson, they took that stiff from Georgia.
Tavon Walker.
What has he done? Nothing. Now he's hurt.
Much. He's not done as much as him and Thibodeau as Hutch and Thibodeau have done.
He hasn't done anything.
Or Sauce Gardner is the favorite to win Rookie of the Year right now.
Well, that looks now like it's a terrible number 1 pick, but he can get a lot better.
Hey, I was so excited because I knew that if the Lions got Hutch at 2, they were going to definitely get a steal, and that Walker going 1. I know maybe he ends up being good, but he's got a ton of raw talent. Hutch was the pick. You can't not.
Yeah, I would rather have Hutchinson in a heartbeat over the other guy
for sure. Yeah. All right, well, great job by you as always. Happy holidays. Before we go, parting shot for your minions of fans out there.
It's going to be freezing back here Saturday and Sunday. Help. It's going to be very, very cold. I don't like it anymore. The older I get, I hate the cold.
Are we doing cheesesteaks? Like, what's the plan for the weekend to stay? You can't go out and get stuff.
Oh, no, I have a whole Christmas Eve party planned. I have a filet roast, shrimp, crab cakes.
Ooh.
And sushi grade tuna. I got the whole menu. I mean, that's just some of it.
How many people are on the invite list? Am I coming?
Only about 1, 2, 5.
Hey, there you go. It's going to be a party. What about Chinese food, though, on Christmas Day? For us, great.
No, I'm gonna have filet mignon roast leftover sandwiches.
Ooh, I like it.
With,
all right, well,
rolls from South Philly.
Want to wish everyone out there a very happy and healthy holiday. We'll be back next week for our final show of the 2022 year. But Sealy, nothing but the best to you and your family. Obviously, to Jamie.
Likewise.
And all of our great peeps out there. We love you. And thanks so much for watching. And until next time, for Sealy and Jamie and Starsky and all the great crew, we want to wish you and yours a very happy and healthy holiday season, no matter what you are celebrating. Keep reaching for the stars. Believe in the dream. We'll see you next week. Peace.